All right, it is Tuesday night. That means it's time for the big three. Now, got half the crew here. It's Dylan and myself. Jordan and Jake taking care of some stuff. Couldn't be here tonight, but still got another great show for you. We're gonna have some MLB talk about XFL, which just came back under with the Rock's leadership now, and we also have, of course, some NBA because they have the All Star Weekend. I think this might be our first show without NFL. But we do have
Yeah.
XFL, so at least we get football in there with that. And then at the end of the show, have a new game that we're gonna do, basketball reference. I have a blank kind of career stats list, and then Dylan will try to guess the player. You'll see how that goes, and maybe it becomes a regular because we did the grid last week. So I'll probably try to switch it up, but we'll kind of see how that goes.
I'm
And
excited.
as people
Basketball
trickle in,
stacks are going to be a little rough. Basketball stats going to be a little rough for
I,
me.
I did three of them. I did one that I thought was kind of easy, then moderate, and the one that might be a little bit more difficult. But I think you'll get them. I think you got this one. But appreciate anybody tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to Sports Empire Network. We have a lot going on. We got articles going. We're gonna have MLB stuff, WNBA, a lot of great things coming. So make sure you tune in. But before we get started with the show, Dylan, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. I'm coming off my 21st birthday, so that's big news. But overall, I'm
Yeah.
doing good. I mean, just watching whatever's on. Yeah, I thought the All Star Weekend was pretty interesting. I thought like this has probably been one of my better ones, like one of the ones that I've like actually enjoyed watching. The skills competition was the skills competition, but other than that, the 3 point contest was interesting. I mean, the dunk contest, obviously, a lot of people were liking the dunk contest, and that was probably due to Mac McClung. But overall, it wasn't a bad
Mhm.
dunk contest either. The All Star game was fun. We saw Jason Tatum break the record, get MVP. Overall, it's been good. I mean, really getting into my college basketball grind now. March Madness is slowly approaching, so I'm definitely cracking down and trying to catch up on some games I missed due to the NFL season and just some other things.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of in the same boat, and we're almost to the point of conference tournaments now. I
Yep.
think in women's basketball,
Oklahoma's not in
conference
it.
tournaments have started. So,
Yeah,
oh,
man.
I mean, you're still in a better position than me, where I watch mainly BC and UMass. They're basically 500 every year, so they don't really have a shot
Man,
at the tournament.
it's rough being an Oklahoma fan because like it's and this is just the whole Big 12 and this is like the Big 12 and anything. It's like, man, Oklahoma will go out and beat like the sixth ranked team, the number one ranked team, Alabama. Like we'll go out and beat these amazing teams in basketball, and it's like, man, we're losing to like this crappy team to like by 11. And it's like, oh, okay,
Sure.
well, it's all for nothing.
I mean, that's college basketball and college football
No.
as well. Well, I mean, at least with college basketball, there's conference tournaments. You
Yeah,
know, there's what
get you an insta
68
bid.
teams to get in. Maybe Oklahoma has a shot. You don't know.
Hey, yep.
Whereas like
I
a
mean, when it
BC,
gets to
that's
those
a little
tournament
different.
times, all you have to do is win. It doesn't matter what happened now.
Yeah,
All that's in the future is winning.
yeah, yeah. Steal somebody else's bid. It's always a
Screw
fun thing.
Kansas. I want their bid.
I mean, it could happen. We've seen wilder runs in the conference tournament, but
Sure.
I think go ahead get started with MLB. Pitchers and
Hmm.
catchers have reported, well, at least like the official date. A lot of them kind of reported last week, but looking at the MLB season, there's been a few rule changes, mainly for pace of play and all that. So, are you hyped for the new rules? Do you think it would make the viewing experience more enjoyable to you?
So let's
And
go
with
over
the
the
new
rules
rules,
real
I mean,
quick.
like, yeah, definitely.
So do you want to
We
do it
have
first? Because I don't have a full list of it all, but I'll get a full list real quick if you need me to.
okay. Well, I know that there's the pitch clock, where now once the pitcher gets the ball back from the catcher, he's on the clock to deliver to the plate. I believe they limited how many times the pitcher can throw over to first base during each at bat, which I actually love that one as well. Nothing worse than seeing a pitcher just lobbing over to first base, 3, 4 times just to waste time. Glad they're
Hmm.
cracking down on that. The bigger bases will be interesting to see opening day, but that's supposed to help with like bang bang plays at first base, second base, and all that. Also, I think they hope it increases steal base attempts. What's going on, Freddie? You know, I think that's a part of the game that definitely needs to come back because right now the teams are prioritizing guys who hit home runs and strike out because they're like, oh, if you hit a home run, we'll take the 200 strikeouts a year. I feel like maybe with these rules, along with the shift, which they're banning, which I believe it's you can still kind of shift, but you can't put that guy in like short right, short left.
Yeah. It says you need to have 4 people on the outfield, 2 in the infield.
What's going on, Mick? What's up? How are you doing it tonight? Oh, NXT. Uh, might have the wrong show there, but appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, that was
Overall, I mean,
Monday.
overall, how I feel about these MLB rules, I mean, man, on the offensive side, it's looking all nice on this offensive side. We're about to see a lot more high scoring games if we didn't see enough last season. So on the
Mm-hmm.
offensive side, it's definitely going to be a lot easier for people to get steals. Like we said, definitely having a bigger base. We're going to see a lot more or less double plays. We're going to see a lot less different stuff than what we're used to seeing because those smaller bases, like at the end of the day, it's how much bigger is it getting? Do you know the exact size? I'm looking at it and seeing if it will tell me. I was reading the pitch
I
clock one real
want to
fast.
say it's maybe like a inch or
So now
two.
they're 18. They're 18 inches. They used to be 15 inches. So it's going to be 3 inches squared all around. So, man, I mean, believe it or not, that's going to make a big difference when it comes down to it, when it comes to the game time, because those pickoffs, those running that close to first base, if you're safe or not, like those are like inches, and an
Mhm.
extra one is definitely going to help. On the defensive side, you got to feel for some of these players. It's like some of these double plays that they're getting are the effort that does take at the end of the day, regardless if they get it or not, is still pretty amazing. And now those opportunities are going to lessen. It felt like even in the MLB now, it was fairly high scoring, and it's like again, I agree with the changes. Like I like the pitch clock timer and stuff like that. And it's like it feels like we're at a good point where people are hitting a lot of homers. We're getting some pretty good high scoring games, and it's like, well, yeah, what can we do to better that? And it's like it's on the defensive side, it's definitely going to make a lot more people work. It's definitely going to you're going to have like a lot more people really try when it comes to that, the defensive end, which is also going to be very helpful. I feel like these defensive awards, like the Golden Glove and all this stuff is, I don't know, should be like more valued now, especially with how much the offense is getting a lot more, like, I wouldn't say leeway, but how the rule changes are helping them and affecting them in a specific way. Overall, I mean, baseball is one of those games people are like, it sucks to watch, it's boring, and they're like, okay, let's give you a reason to watch it now. And it's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see. Last year was like my first probably full season where I in depth tried to watch everything and get into it. So this year's going to be even really more interesting now with all these rule changes.
Yeah, and Brett has a great NBA question. Um, I will definitely remember this one when we get to NBA later in the show because I do think, especially with what happened today, it would be good to
I'm a
talk about
Hawks
with
fan.
you being a Hawks fan and
Yeah.
me being in the Atlanta area, so I watch the Hawks a lot. So we'll definitely get into that for sure, Brett. But appreciate the question. Um, yes, I agree with you. I feel like baseball kind of dragged their feet in terms of pace of play, where a lot of fans were talking about the game was too slow, too long, and all that, and they slowly made minor adjustments like ghost runner and extra innings. Because if you're at a ballpark middle of June, you don't want to be sitting there 17, 18 innings. You use the ghost runner. Maybe it only goes 10, 11. You're fine. You're gone. You're going home. Now, they don't do it in the playoffs because, I mean, I'd hate to be a playoff team and lose because of a ghost runner.
Yeah, agreed.
They did, bullpen guy comes in. He has to pitch the 3 batters because that kind of got away from the specialists, which a lot of the traditionalists didn't like. But that's more time that's being wasted. You're bringing a guy to face one guy that could be 6, 7 pitches, and then it's manager comes out, conference on the mound, bringing another guy. He comes in slowly, so they're slowly getting there. And I would like to see with the pitch clock how pitchers adjust because there are guys, and I know one Kenley Jansen who signed with the Red Sox, kind of slow to the plate. So how will he be affected? Because it's if you go past the clock, it's like an automatic ball, and then if you continue to do it, like you could end up walking a guy, and that's not necessarily what you want to do as a reliever. Anthony Price says making the pitcher pitch faster. Yeah, I completely agree with that. So with all those rules, is there a rule that you would have implemented that maybe the league hasn't thought of yet to, I guess, further grow the game? Like, do you have one?
I mean, that's rough. Again, I'm starting to slowly learn baseball and stuff like that. That's rough. I mean, there was one thing I didn't like. I mean, I would say definitely the pitch clock is probably one of the rules I like the most when it comes down to it, because there is a lot of time going between pitches. And even that being said, I do like the pickoff rule that they allowed as well too. You can only attempt it 3 times, and if you don't get it the third time, if it's unsuccessful, the runner automatically advances, which I find so fine. I hate sitting there waiting him throwing the ball at the first base like 8 times in a row. So I'm glad that they did something to implement that. Yeah, just anything the pace wise, just want to see the game, move a little quicker. And that's like, I love watching baseball, but I like watching it more in a park because it feels so boring on a TV. And so, if they're doing something to increase that pace of play, it's going to be interesting. You want to get people to, watch the game, and baseball is one of those games that has like I said earlier, a bad reputation on trying to watch the games because it's deemed a boring sport. So yeah, anything pace of play. I think they're doing pretty good now. I'm not sure how I feel about the defensive shifts or whatnot, because some of those shifts could be strategic and could be helpful. But I mean, I get it. It does take time, but I don't know. What do you think?
All right, so let me get to Anthony real quick. Making the bases bigger is a good and bad thing. Good cut down on an injury, with bad, easy to steal bases.
Yep.
That is true, and plus that works in with the pitch over amount. So if a guy throws over 3 times, well, I guess 2 times and doesn't get you, he may be hesitant to throw over a 3rd time. So now a guy on first could time it better, knowing that he's probably going to go to the plate, which I do think is what baseball wants, more action on the bases, because the stationary, guy hits a single, next guy hits a single, now it's first and second, hit a single, first, second, and third. They'd rather see more of the first to third, or you get on first, you steal second, now a bloop hit, you're going second to home, stuff like that. So I do agree with you, Anthony, that the bigger bases, that might be I wouldn't say the biggest adjustment, because the pitch clock, pitchers got to adjust to that, but the bigger bases will be interesting to see how that is received. Because yes, it does cut down an injury, because a lot of times first basemen get stepped on their heel or something because guys running down the base. So now this definitely helps that. I'm interested to see what goes on. Now, I guess to answer your question, Dylan, I know a lot of times some batters, when they're in the box and they step out, they kind of take a little bit longer than some, viewers would like. I guess that's something that they could do, which I can't remember if that's part of the new rules or not. But, some guys would step out, adjust their gloves, fix, look at their bat, fix their helmet, fix the gloves again, then step back in. That's probably one aspect that I'm interested to see how that is affected in all this as well. All right, last, I guess my other baseball question for you. I mean, this might be unfair because, like I said, you're still kind of new to it, but face of the league, I feel like that's something that's brought up before every season. Who is the face of Major League Baseball? So I guess for you as a newer viewer, who would you say is probably, I guess, face, biggest superstar, whatever, in baseball?
So it's crazy. Like, I've kept up with baseball over the years, so I've not always known the bigger names. And when you look at MLB compared to things like the NFL, even like just different sports all around, there's always kind of a guy. There's always kind of a guy there. You got the NBA, you got LeBron, you got Kevin Durant, you have those guys who are those current guys. You have the NFL, you got Mahomes now, you had Brady, you had those guys who are the current guys. And when you look at MLB, it's like, man, like they have their guys, but it's like their guys aren't really the guys who are winning. For example, like you have like Bryce Harper. Now he's been doing good. Like they had that Phillies had a great run. Bryce Harper, I would say probably. Then you have like your Mike Trout. It's like the Angels haven't been really good, but like Mike Trout's still that guy. When you think of the MLB, you probably think Mike Trout is one of those people, and it's like, man, you got to put your Aaron Judges up there. It's like these guys who are like probably, I would say, just I don't. It's rough. It's rough. I would say the guys who are like, I'm trying to say, just like prolific offensively is like what you really see when it comes to the MLB. You even got your Shohei Ohtani's. It's like if he was just a pitcher, like I don't imagine his name would be big, but since he can hit the ball, like that brings value to him. And it's like, man, it seems like it's just a new person like arises and they kind of stay there for like a 10, 15 years type of thing. And that's kind of how it works in the MLB. It's like Aaron Judge, since his rookie season, has kind of just, been there. He's always kind of been like one of those names you hear about it. Same with like Mike Trout, like Bryce Harper, and even like Shohei. It's like he was that guy overseas, and then like when he came here, his name is kind of just like stuck. So I don't know. It's really tough. I mean, I would want to say Astros players, but the Astros kind of leave a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. It's really kind of hard to think of a face from there. Yeah, it's really tough. I would say your prolific offensive guys really get kind of the credit.
Yeah, I agree with that.
What about you?
I would think maybe Ohtani for the reason you said, because of his pitching and hitting aspect. Also, he, I believe, is set to be a free agent next season, next off season. So I feel like this whole year, maybe the narrative is going to be, would Ohtani stay in LA? Would a bigger market? I mean, LA is a big market, but like, would a Red Sox or a Yankees or a Mets or something go after
Red Sox first?
Well, I mean, I've seen the rumors about them wanting to be in play for him, but I think that's going to be the talk of the season. So I think because of that, Ohtani will probably definitely be it, and also like Sports Judge. Jonathan, what's going on? Yeah, he's a global figure. That definitely helps in terms of being the face of the league. So I would say Shohei, but I do agree with you. Aaron Judge coming off of the record-breaking year last year, he's up there. Bryce Harper, Trout, because of his 5 tools and all that, is always there. But it's also a sign of baseball still kind of struggling in terms of marketing players. Because there's a lot of great talent around baseball. Yeah. It's just that a lot of guys don't understand, or they don't see them, or anything like that.
Like you have a tier of guys. Yeah, you have like a tier of guys. Like it's so weird in the MLB because there's like so many great talents. It's just like they're not getting pushed. Like you said, Jose Ramirez, like a perfect one. It's weird. It seems like a lot of the younger guys get more hype than like some of the stars who aren't just in smaller markets who aren't just getting credit. Like, for example, like no shame to any of these players I'm about to mention, but like, for example, you have like your Jazz Chisholms, like great player, great star, but like, is he really that great yet? And it's like, it seems like he's being talked about more in comparison to some of these other guys. Like, again, Julio Rodriguez, great talent, had a great season, but there is still really other good guys out there in the league that are probably posting up better numbers that aren't getting as talked about as much. And that's definitely due to the MLB not like hyping up their low market stars. For example, if you're not playing in an LA, you're not playing in a New York, you're not playing in a Los Angeles, like, sorry, try to make your own name. Like, we're not going to help you out because all of our marketing's going to these bigger names and these big markets because that's where we get our money.
Yeah, that's a good point. So Gene checking in. Hey, what's going on, Gene? And yes, it's Dylan and myself tonight. Jake and Jordan had some stuff to take care of, but we're holding it down for sure.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, I mean, and also with baseball, I guess one last thing to talk about. I feel like I read somewhere that baseball, their like TV and all that, a lot of it's tied to Bally Sports, and apparently like Bally Sports is going bankrupt, and like MLB Network isn't like available on YouTube and all this kind of stuff. And it's like that's another aspect where baseball really falls behind in terms of social media. You know, NBA, NFL, they're like prevalent on there. For some reason, baseball's been lacking in that aspect. And let's see, hold on, Gene still. Hey, love you too, Gene. No, you my
Love you
guy.
too, Gene.
But I want to see if the Bally Sports thing, if they really do go bankrupt, like what's MLB's plan? I know
they're on Apple. They do stream games
yeah,
off Apple, and love it. I love it. I've watched some games off of Apple, and like I like it. They have like the live stats in the corner. They got the live betting odds. Like they're doing something good with that. Like what they're doing over there is fine. But I agree, like not being on, like, for example, I have YouTube TV, so I can't watch a lot of baseball games. So it's like, you know.
I mean, maybe the Bally Sports thing forces them to finally kind of dive into that side of viewership, because that could only grow your game. Like we've seen other
exactly.
Sports
like, why wouldn't you want to be on everything?
Yeah, exactly. Gene says way better than Prime. I'll tell you that much. I mean, yeah, because I've seen a couple of games on Apple TV as well, and I do like their layout and their, you know, the presentation. I do like that, so I give them a lot of credit for that. Definitely. All right. I mean, you have anything on baseball before we move on?
Nope. Spring training's coming up, which is pretty exciting. You know, I'm excited to see. You know, of course, I'm a Blue Jays fan. You being a Red Sox fan, you know, we're gonna be butting heads a little bit. Jordan being a Yankees fan as well too. We're gonna be all butting heads a little bit. And what's Jake's team? Did he tell us what his baseball team was, or did he not?
I think he did. I can't remember. For some reason, I want to say Mariners, but that doesn't sound right.
I thought that or the Rockies. Who knows? Well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But I know, for example, me, you, and Jordan, we're going to be butting heads all season because we all play in the same conference. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm excited. You know, go Blue Jays.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my Red Sox have an interesting year ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Bogart's leaving, Devers resigns, but a lot of people in Boston aren't happy with Chaim Bloom. So this will be a big year for him. And I think Alex Cora as well. Because, he won the World Series a couple of years ago, but also last place finish last year did really help him. But like you said, baseball's just getting started. We definitely be butting heads with the AL East teams.
Mm-hmm.
But we also saw the, I guess, rebranding of the XFL this weekend. Now under the Rock's leadership, a group headed by the Rock, I guess. So first question, did you watch any games? You watch all the games? Caught a couple of games? How many games did you catch from the XFL weekend?
I watched the Seattle game on Sunday. There was only 4 games. So I watched the Seattle game, I watched the Vegas, and I believe they played at Arlington, and then I watched, I believe, the Orlando Houston. The only one I didn't get to watch was the St. Louis game. And that's because I was out eating dinner.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I caught I think I caught a little bit of the St. Louis game. There's another game. I can't remember. I'll definitely watch more of it this weekend coming up. But what's your thoughts on the product? Like,
I mean, I like it. Yeah. I mean, like, overall, the rule changes seemed fun. I mean, of course, it had a little bit of different flow than the NFL. Obviously, everything wasn't as crisp. Not everything was like ran to a T, you know. But overall, I mean, it was an enjoyable product. I mean, definitely one of the first games having a massive comeback, you know. Mm-hmm. Game-winning touchdown definitely brings up the viewership value. But overall, I thought it was good. I like the rule changes. I like you being able to go for a 3-pointer, which obviously it worked for one of those teams. And then also the same team, I believe it was the team AJ McCarron was on. I can't remember. He was on it was the Renegades, right? I think it was was it the Renegades or was it
against
yep,
Jack Cone or something?
Yeah. But like they had that 4th and 15 for the onside kick. They converted it. So it's like, man, these rules like that were very interesting. Obviously, seemed to work. And me as a fan, I know a lot of people like the tradition of doing the onside kick and whatever, but I like it. I like it. I mean, I would have to give it more weeks. I can't say like this is like a great product and everyone needs to go watch it. It definitely does not have the same feel as an NFL. And that's just because talent. Two, it's a new league. You got to let everyone kind of feel the flow of it. It's going to take some time, but overall, like I feel like it has promise. As long as it doesn't go bankrupt. But I mean, it seemed like The Rock and the ownership group that is with it really wants to make it into something, and it seems like overall I like it. Just got to give it a couple more weeks.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You brought up some of the new rules. The kickoff rule, which I know I said last week, I had to see it in action. I'm not mad at it. Having them standing 5 yards apart, the kick comes, can't move until it's actually caught. That way you're cutting down on guys running full speed, like 50 yards at you and just launching at you. So I think that is a rule I could see making its way to the NFL at some point. The punt one, a little bit more interesting because now if you punt it like out of bounds inside the 35, it automatically goes to the 35. I'm not a big fan of that one because I feel like as a punter, if you punt it out of bounds like inside the 5, that should be rewarded instead of losing 30 yards or 30 plus yards and bringing it back to the 35. I agree
to a sense. I agree to the sense, but I hate the punts that go like, could go to that 20 or 30, but are like 10, 15 yards out of bounds. It's like, well, that's not really fair. Like in a sense, if the ball hits the ground, I feel like that rule should apply if the ball hits the ground and rolls out. Like you should get it at that yard line. For example, if it's in play and it rolls to the 3 and goes out of bounds, you have to play it at the 3. But if you punt the ball and it lands out of bounds, I can see a sense where you can make a rule that would be different outside of like, it being a touchback.
Yeah, I guess that'd probably be a good compromise. I mean, I get what they're wanting to do. They hear all the talk about, kickoffs and punts going away in the NFL. So they were like, we'll do something about that. Now on punts, we're forcing you to basically punt in the middle of the field. So the punt return's always going to be there. And the kickoff, like I said, with them being 5 yards apart, you make a couple of moves, you break that first line. It's just you and a kicker, wide open space. And those two plays are two of the more exciting plays in football. So you don't necessarily want to see it leave. So I like the XFL's at least trying stuff like that.
Yeah, I like me a good kick return for a touchdown. I like me a good punt return for a touchdown. I don't want to see them go away. And it's like these return, like some of these players, like your returners, like you guys make money being a great returner. Like we've had players like Devin Hester, like Devin Hester wouldn't be Devin Hester without punt returning and kick returning skills, like those opportunities. So don't get rid of them. I'd be very upset if they did that one.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. All right, so looking at the XFL being new, what do you think is best case scenario for the league? I mean,
man, if I would have to say best case scenario, I would say it becomes like a NFL G League in a sense. Not even so much where you have young guys going in there. It's just like it's a league where you don't have to send anybody down there. But in a sense, it's for these players who don't want to play for practice squads, don't want to do this, don't want to do that, and would rather try to actually improve their craft playing game time. Because I don't think a lot of people realize this. It's like if you're not great at NFL game speed, it's like a lot of the times you're getting practice reps, you're not even getting game reps. And the XFL can be something like, hey man, if you're just struggling with game speed time, hey, play a couple games down here. The competition's going to be lesser. It's not going to be an actual NFL season, and just different things like that. I mean, overall, I think what they would want is I imagine they would want to expand more teams. What are they at? 8 right now? I imagine they probably would want to go to 16, probably get a little bit bigger, probably hit some more markets, probably get some more TV deals and things like that. But overall, just be successful, make money, and what every company, every league would want. But I think overall, working with the NFL would probably be their goal. I mean, at least trying to not so much have like I said, it doesn't have to be like a G League in a sense, but in a partnership to where maybe there are some players on NFL rosters who aren't just cutting it, can just go down to the G League and it kind of just be a smooth, not G League, but the XFL, and it kind of be like a smooth transition for them. and different things like that. Just give players opportunities, because the NFL isn't for everybody at the like start of it. We have, when it comes to draft comps, who NFL ready players and different things like that. Sometimes those aren't players like that. So just in a sense, just probably partnered with the NFL, something to improve the game. Because if these rules, we start to like them, like for example, the kickoff rules, we like the punt rules, anything like that, like I imagine we would love to see them in the actual game. Of a lot of us fans who are watching the XFL, and a lot of us football fans who just think this rule is just like nice overall, why not implement it to the NFL? Let's see how it works. It's like, again, I don't want to keep saying G League, but the NBA has done a great job with it with their G League, like doing rules there, seeing how it works down there, and then it's like, and including the summer league, and it's just like, let's see how it works here. And if it does work, let's try doing it in the NBA. And I always bring up like the coaches challenge is a perfect example of that. And yeah, I mean, I imagine they just probably would want to just improve the brand of football. I mean, all these dudes are getting new opportunities. I mean, before the XFL, who thought AJ McCarron we thought we were going to see AJ McCarron play football like that again, And just a bunch of these just different like undrafted guys as well are getting an opportunity to play and like show scouts, show other NFL teams like, hey, I'm here. Like after this XFL season, the NFL season's coming up. I'll be ready. And I think that's a great opportunity for him. I imagine, who Donald Parham's a great example. I like me some Donald Parham. Like was he XFL? He wasn't the first XFL. He was whatever that other league was. The AFL? I don't remember, whatever it was called.
I mean, USFL?
Yeah, the USFL. I believe he was a member of one of them on the USFL, and now he's like a mainstay tight end on the Chargers. Might not be a great tight end, but like obviously his performances in those type of leagues got him a shot in the NFL. And I'm not saying I think it'd be possible for any guy down there. So, especially these young guys who play in the XFL.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree with that as well. If it turns into like every season, a handful of guys move from the XFL to the NFL, then I think they're doing really good job in that case. And then with that, the NFL will look to them as a, feeder system. Now, I do have a question of, if there was a kid who necessarily went to college or whatever and didn't want to wait the 3 years out of college to get to the NFL, and you start seeing a lot of those guys go to the XFL, like, would you be upset with that? Like, would you think that might lead to issues with the XFL? Or
yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, one, the XFL isn't paying as much as that 53-man roster NFL contracts probably paying, So I imagine money talks for a lot of these guys. And at the end of the day, some of these guys just want to play football. And if they don't think they're going to be able to play at the NFL, and they just are like, hey, let me ball out here. Like, I'll take whatever I can get, let them. I mean, but I imagine the money is pretty far off for these guys, and a lot of people care about how their money is nowadays. So I imagine they'd be like, you tell your agent, like, I'm thinking the XFL, and he would show you 3 more digits on your first check, and you'd kind of be like, maybe the NFL's a little my way. I could sit on the bench for a year or so.
Yeah. Well, I think I was looking at it from the G League perspective, where we're seeing guys now straight from high school go to the G League instead of going the college route. So we're seeing a lot of college guys. They'll go to a school. It may not go their way, and they enter the transfer portal and keep bouncing around till they find the opportunity. Could we see some of those guys?
I think it's a possibility. I mean, you're giving these 19, 20-year-olds. I don't think right out of high school probably should be the way. I feel like you got to put an age limit. Maybe at like 20 or something is when you want to make like the age requirement for something like that. I wouldn't say straight out of high school you can go to the XFL, but like, if you put it like a 20 age limit and you're like, hey man, like, I'm not really liking this. Let me go ahead and like play with some of these former NFL guys, former college standouts, players like me. I could see it as a good opportunity. Not going through the college route would definitely be a lot rougher way to do it. But if you can make a name for yourself doing it through the XFL route, like, why shouldn't you get your props? Like, I'm sorry, if a former NFL cornerback is covering me, who played 6-7 years in the league, might not have been the best, but he was still an NFL cornerback, a starter. And if I torch him for 150, 200 yards, I feel like at the end of the day, like, that still speaks, He's
Yeah.
got training by some of the best. I mean, overall, I guess it's just how you view things, because a lot of people could just be like, yeah, they're playing like old veterans who can't play in the actual NFL anymore. And it's like, well, to each their own. You're playing against college kids who have the same skill as you in the college. So,
Right. Yeah, I mean, hey, game tape is game tape. And
exactly.
I do think the age thing, yeah, that probably would have to factor in. Like if it's a guy who goes through freshman, sophomore year, and maybe they don't want
Yeah.
to go through the grind of the junior year that they have to play in order to be draft eligible. If they turn that junior year into an XFL year to try to get into the league that way, yeah, I could definitely see players doing that. Especially like if maybe you're a kid who gets dismissed from school or whatever for whatever reason, instead of kind of sitting around until draft eligible and hoping to get into the league, you go to the XFL, put some tape out there, and then when
Yeah.
you are eligible, a team could pick you up. Yeah. So I think that probably would factor into their maybe best case scenario as well.
I
College could
imagine
see it as a
I
route.
want that to happen, but I got to see. Let's have a successful season. Let's see how that works, and then maybe talk about an expansion. Like maybe go 10 teams at the end. Like I feel like that's what they'll want to do, and I hope it's successful. Football's football, and if I can get it almost year round, I'll take it.
Right. Yeah. And,
I want to see Josh Gordon catch touchdowns. I don't care.
right. Yeah. And they fit in perfectly because they, I guess they start like right after the NFL season.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they finish right before USFL gets started, and then USFL kind of takes you up until training camp. So like you said, if you want to watch football all year, now you have a path to it, and I think a lot of NFL fans will definitely be happy about that.
It's weird having two football leagues though. Like, man,
Right.
XFL, USFL. Like, when do you guys buy each other? Make it easier on all of us.
Who knows? We may end up at that point in a couple of years. Who knows? All right. I mean, like I said, until XFL kind of gets more into it, probably talk about it a little bit more because there are some guys that are recognizable, like you said, Josh Gordon. I mean, AJ McCarron. When I saw him, and I was like, oh yeah, the old
Martavis Bryant.
Yeah, yeah. So that definitely works for them that they have recognizable names that are in the league. I mean, I saw Brian Hill, and I was like, Brian Hill, that name rings a bell. I was like, oh yeah, Falcons running back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he wasn't that great of a running back, but it was still.
They even have like undrafted guys like Puka Williams, like the Kansas running back. Like he's on one of them.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely with you that I hope they have like a right plan of action. It lasts for a few years. Well, I mean, not a few years, but lasts for years and becomes like a legitimate secondary league to the NFL.
Agreed.
All right, so on to NBA, and I guess before we go to All-Star Weekend stuff, I guess we could talk about Brett's question from earlier. So, the news of the day was Nate McMillan relieved of duties in Atlanta. So now another coach that seemingly Trae Young hasn't gotten along with and has lost their job along with Lloyd Pierce. Was he there with Mike Woodson? I think he had Budenholzer, maybe, and now Nate
Trae Young.
Yeah, it was Budenholzer.
No, Trae Young's only had Lloyd and McMillan.
Yeah, I forgot about that. But Pierce, when he was relieved of duties, and we later found out that he and Trae Young didn't get along. We heard about Nate McMillan earlier in the season. Their little confrontation when I think Trae was rehabbing and Nate McMillan didn't necessarily like how he was rehabbing or something like that. But to Brett's question, do you guys think there's a way to build around Trae Young in Atlanta, or will his defense always be too much of a hindrance? I mean,
I feel like I don't want to always say that there's not a way. There is probably a combination of NBA players out there that could be built around Trae Young to be good. I'm like not make him be such a hindrance, and that doesn't even mean all superstars. But like, who knows? This is going to be his third coach, so we'll see how it is. He's been in the league since 2018, so he's had 4 years, 2 coaches. But we'll see. Quinn Snyder's kind of on that list of coaches that they want. I can't think of who else. It was Quinn Snyder. Man, there was a list. They already dropped like their short list of people that they wanted, but overall, we'll see. We'll see. This Hawks team is kind of interesting, especially being a Hawks fan. It's like we don't really know what we're kind of doing. We thought getting DeJounte Murray would be helpful, and it's been very helpful. But it's like Trae Young hasn't really kind of been here the whole time to help. We've been having problems with our coaches, and it's like we might have something going, but it's like we just have other factors kind of stopping us. Like also the bunch of John Collins news. Trae Young's not happy with that, and it's just like. Maybe like you've said it, you've said this multiple times, but like maybe the Eastern Conference like finals definitely warped their view. You thought maybe Trae Young was a lot better than he was. He was kind of getting that bill and roll with New York. He outplayed the 76ers. Maybe Ben Simmons had something to do with why they lost that game. But overall, they still beat the 76ers, and maybe we kind of shine the Hawks in a little different light because it's like, hey, like. You made the Eastern Conference Finals. Like you beat some pretty good teams. Like congrats. And then they almost beat the Bucks. So it's like they took them to 6 games. So it's like, we definitely had a warped view on the Hawks. And it's like now that people know how to play Trae Young. The Heat shut them down in the playoffs last season easily. It's kind of like maybe Trae Young's kind of like, oh, maybe I'm not as good as I am. Or it's like, the coach is changing stuff. So it's like, that's why I'm not doing good anymore. Or it's like, you're doing this. This is why we're losing. It could be a plethora of different things. Is there a possibility you could build something around Trae Young? I think so. And I feel like, I still think DeJounte Murray could be that good guard to be paired up next to him, Not saying it was the coach's fault, not saying it's Young's fault, but maybe there's something that a new coach could bring, that will make things click. Maybe he could say some advice that Trae Young's like, oh, I never thought about that way before, or a plethora of different things that could happen. But I do think it's possible. If you like the game that much, if Trae Young is committed, I feel like if he really wanted to, he could figure something out. And if a coach is really committed to wanting to make the Hawks work, it could work. We don't expect runs. We don't expect teams to make championship runs or different things that happens. And it just turns out to, things just click either with the coach or the players and runs happen. So I think it's possible. You just got to give it time. It's one of those things that it's any given game, one game Trae Young could just figure it out, or like any player could just figure it out. And that's just how it is.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I've been one of those who's been maybe overly critical of Trae Young because, I wasn't necessarily a fan of the Luka for Trae Young draft night trade. I mean, we see it now. Luka's another guy that may not necessarily be the easiest to build around, but I do think it's probably easier to build around Luka than Trae because, I mean, Luka is a bigger guy as a lead guard. And Trae Young, a lot of times in the playoffs, when it becomes more physical, as a smaller guy, that's where the struggles are. But I do think the Murray acquisition, I like that. Only issue was you now have to figure out between Murray and Young who's the guy on the ball more often. Do you value Murray off the ball with Young having the ball in his hands, or do you swap it around and have Murray with the ball, have Young off the ball, be like a, Klay Thompson type, where Klay plays off the ball a lot. He still gets his shots, but he's at least engaged. I've seen a lot of times when Trae Young is off the ball, he is like disinterested. Until you give him the ball and he can kind of dance with it, he kind of just stands around. And I don't know what coach you bring in to come up with a system that works for Murray's game as well as Trae Young, because Murray, I feel like, is more dynamic on the ball. He's also longer and more athletic. So you'd rather have him on the ball, but if it's going to be to the detriment of Trae Young, then it kind of doesn't work. Now, defensively, as Brett brought up, you're kind of stuck with what you're getting. I mean, I don't see Trae Young all of a sudden becoming better defensively.
Agreed.
Now, can you hide him defensively? I think Murray does help you in that case where, Murray can take on the better backcourt guy from the opposing team. Only problem is the way that teams play offense now, where they're pick and roll all the time. You can just, seek out Trae Young on defense and then that becomes the issue. Now that puts more pressure on Capella or Kongwu at the rim to now step up. So I've always said I don't know if Trae Young could be the best player on a championship team. Could he be a number two? Yeah, I think he could. Problem is in Atlanta, they want Trae Young to be the guy. And until they kind of come off of that, I just don't see how they build around him and how they build a consistent winner in Atlanta. Because yes, they made the Eastern Conference Finals run, but they're not better than Boston. They're not better than Milwaukee. You know, Philly has had their own playoff issues, but if you look at it, you would take Maxey and Bede. I mean, depending on what version of Harden you get, you would take that over Atlanta. You know, Miami has shown in the playoffs that they are the kryptonite for Trae Young, so you would take them. So Atlanta's always going to be in that group with like the Knicks, the Nets now with no KD and Kyrie, you know, Toronto, that kind of group, that second or third tier like East team.
A team that could like maybe win it, maybe upset like a team in the series, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that there's a ceiling with a Trae Young led Atlanta team, and I guess the next coach is going to be interesting because they've gone through this before. And what's going on, Coach Dante? We were talking about Trae Young and whether Atlanta can build around him, but the next coach is going to be pivotal here. This will be Trae Young's third coach. You have to make the right hire. I don't know whether it's because you said what Quinn Snyder. I think that would be an interesting hire, but they'll probably hear the regular names like, oh, go get Mark Jackson, go get Jeff Van Gundy or whatever.
Go get Frank Vogel.
Right. Frank Vogel or Mike D'Antoni, which I think Brett put in the group chat, which, I mean, for Mike D'Antoni, he's a brilliant offensive mind who doesn't care about defense. Maybe that's the way you need to go. Unlock something with Trae Young in the offense where you're scoring 130 a game. You might give up 128, but at least you're winning. So I'm interested to see who is on their short list, who they bring in, and how serious are the names that they bring in. Like if they bring in Mike D'Antoni and a bunch of random guys, they'll be like, okay, obviously it's D'Antoni's job if he wants it. But if they make this like a serious search with Quinn Snyder, D'Antoni, I don't know if Mark Jackson would actually work there. I kind of feel like Trae Young doesn't want necessarily the disciplinarian defensive type of coach. So I don't think Mark Jackson would fit there, but D'Antoni, Quinn Snyder, I could definitely see that. But I don't know. Atlanta's in an interesting.
Okay, so now I found the list I was looking for. Okay. It was Quinn Snyder, Kenny Atkinson, and Charles Lee, the Bucks assistant. Those are the top three they're eyeing right now, with Jordi Fernandez, the Kings assistant, and Spurs assistant Mitch Johnson as also being considered. But the top three are Snyder, Atkinson, and Charles Lee.
I like Kenny Atkinson. I thought he kind of got a raw deal in Brooklyn. I feel like he's a good young coach that would work well with a team that's, you know, not necessarily championship like driven or the expectations not there. Mm-hmm. I think he's a good guy you can bring in and kind of build a bit of a culture with and grow with him. I kind of like that. And Quinn Snyder, I have no problem if they brought him in. But I feel like I'm glad Atkinson would get a shot at the job.
Yeah, I'm glad he's definitely. Yeah, you like those coaches that just kind of get like the raw end of the deal type of thing. Like, not necessarily you were a bad coach, you were just in a bad situation, and right. You know, you hope those coaches get opportunities again.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a good question from you, Brett. So now going to All-Star Weekend. But then I guess we'll talk a little bit about the buyout market. But so All-Star Weekend came and went. I think I don't know. I feel like this weekend you're getting different opinions. There's some who like the weekend, love it, fine. Then there seems like a group that's kind of upset with the All Star game itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like it's probably valid because we saw zero defense other than like the Jalen Brown Tatum one on one for 2 seconds. And it had me thinking, is the NBA All Star game at a point where the NFL Pro Bowl was before they switched to the flag football, where they just kind of have to do something to fix it?
Man, I don't know. It does suck. It does suck that like it's so different with baseball and football because like not well, I mean basketball and football. Like because with the football, I get why they're doing what they're doing. Like there's a more risk of injuries, if they're playing tackle football, you know. Also these guys are like technically in their off season. They can't afford to get these injuries. And I also do get that on the NBA side. You would hate to lose your all-star player in the all-star game because he got injured in the middle of the season. So in the NFL sense, it's like, well, I'm not going to be able to work out and, train. If I tear my ACL in the Pro Bowl, like I'm probably not playing the regular season. And the NBA side, if you get injured in the all-star game, you're your team's all-star caliber player. That's going to be very hurtful, in that second half of the run. So I do get, the concerns of like people are like this sucks. They don't play defense. Like I want more competitive basketball, and I do get that. There needs to be a compromise in a sense, and it's like. The last couple of years we've been getting that fourth quarter of the All-Star game where like we actually got to see like pretty aggressive basketball. Maybe you do that for 2 quarters. Maybe I know 24 for Kobe Bryant. Maybe you make make the third quarter a different score. Try to make it to where I get teams pay money for charity, but like make there some sort of incentive on the line as well too, because like you see them players play hard in that fourth quarter because it's like, oh, this is the final one. We have a target score. It's like, so I don't know. It's interesting. I did enjoy like some of the moments in the All-Star game. Like some of the scoring stuff was cool, but also at the same time, like it just really felt like they were walking and just like, let's chuck up this shot. Let's chuck up this shot. Like I saw Joel Embiid shoot a lot of threes that game. It's not something he's doing normally. Right. So it's like, I don't know. It's like it's to each their own, I guess. There could be ways you could fix it, but those ways you could fix it, could be more detrimental in the long run as well too. So it's always going to be interesting, especially since it's in the middle of the season. And the last thing you want to do, like I said, is get your star player hurt in the middle of the season.
Right. I feel like for the NBA All-Star game, it's not even like a high bar that they have to meet. Like if you told me the guys are out there and we just got a bunch of one-on-one matchups with guys, showing off their handles, taking fadeaways, whatever. I feel like fans would like that because, a few years ago, which is what a lot of people were referencing, when Kobe was guarding LeBron and he was like D'ing him up. If that's all we got, were just a bunch of one-on-one matchups throughout the game, fine.
Man, something I would like to see is like not even one-on-ones in a sense, because like I think you need to like get do 3-on-3, do a 3-on-3 tournament. You got 30 guys selected, right? That's 10 teams. That's 10 teams. You can do like you can do like a little competition, number draw or something. 2 teams get a bye, make a fan voted bye or something like that. Do a little 3-on-3 tournament to 21. Each game goes to 21. I feel like would be appreciated. I would enjoy that, like for example, seeing like Ja, LeBron James, and Joel Embiid on a 3-on-3 team against like Damian Lillard, Kevin Durant, and Nikola Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wouldn't mind watching that. Games to 21, games to 11, make the final 21. Like it doesn't even have to be anything too crazy, but These guys have crazy talent, and like they do show them off with all those fancy and flashy dunks and stuff like that. But that's because nobody's guarding you. Like I could go out there, and if you give me 18 tries, I'm hitting a couple wide open threes, and does that make me an NBA All-Star? Like, can I go play in the game now?
Right. Yeah. I mean I think that's a really good point because that's where a lot of people were just so disgusted with it. Was like a guy comes across half court and it's like everybody just stands set aside and just goes, "Go ahead, make a layup, try out a dunk contest type dunk, and then we'll just throw the ball in and we'll do the same thing on the other end." And I get it, it's for the fans and everything, but I'd like to see a little bit of effort at least. Eric says they need to move the All-Star break to January. There's only 22 games left. I mean that.
Make it more mid-season. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that really fixes the problem because once again,
probably not.
Like the NFL Pro Bowl's at the end of the year. This one's still in the middle of the season, and guys don't want to risk, an injury in an All-Star game when your team could possibly win a title, which is kind of crazy to say because it's always been in the middle of the season, and there was effort way back, 90s, 80s, whatever, and then at a certain point, it just stopped for whatever reason. And I honestly, I don't know. I do think it was good that some of the young players kind of spoke up about load management and stuff like that. So
Anthony Edwards, the man.
Yeah. I think I saw like Anthony Edwards. I think like Jaylen Brown said something. I think Mike Malone as well. And I feel like that's probably where it's going to start with the younger players having that mentality. Maybe that fixes it. I don't know. It's an NBA problem for sure.
Yeah, I definitely like what Anthony Edwards said. Basically, like these people are probably scraping enough money for their only NBA game they'll probably go to, like, and you're sitting out, like just play if you're not actually hurt.
Yeah. I think so. Like if you're like 60, 70%, just play because the kid wants to see you. And I think I saw like a TikTok video of a fan who was talking to LeBron, and LeBron wasn't playing in the game, and he was like, "Hey, me and my kid, this is our only chance to see you. You're not even playing. We want our money back." And like LeBron just kind of looked at him. But I was like, if that becomes more of the narrative for the NBA, I mean, people are already asking Adam Silver about the whole load management thing and what he's going to do about it. I mean, I don't even know how you really fix that because the league has done a lot. There's not a lot of back-to-backs anymore. Not a lot of 3 games in 4 nights. It's a longer All-Star break. I mean, how much more can they really do in terms of the schedule to make these guys play for?
I don't know, man, because it's rough because it's really just hard. Like, because if you just take out like a rest day or whatever you're gonna want to call it, they could just put it down. He has a shin injury for that day, and really it could just be a rest day again. And it's like, I don't know. In a sense, it's weird. It's like because you can't necessarily. I don't want to say you dock these guys pay because you never know at the end of the day if it's an actual injury or not. But like, man, like I do really feel for those fans that save all that money to go to a LA game. That's not cheap. Like in all these different games and stuff like that, not to see, their son's favorite player, their favorite player, their daughter, your favorite players play. And it's like, feels pointless. Like I didn't come here to watch, Troy Brown Jr. play. Sorry. Like I wanted to see LeBron play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially if you're a fan of a team that's not really playing well. Like if you're a Hornets fan, one of the worst records in the league, you have the Lakers coming into town, you're like, that's the game I'm going to. I get to see LeBron play, blah, blah, and then LeBron sitting on the bench. It's like, well, now what am I supposed to do? Watch this team that stinks against not the guy that I wanted to see. So, I wonder if you could do something where, if you want to do load management, then you have to miss X number of games.
See, I know they have an All-Star week too.
Yeah.
I know they have an All-Star week too, but like even if they wanted to like extend the NBA, like if possible, like extend it a couple more weeks and throw a 2-day bye week, in there. Throw a 3-day bye week, like just where no teams play for 2 to 3 days. And like if that can help out with load management, like I get you said there's no other back-to-backs and different stuff like that, but like, man, if it's like these guys are really that tired, I don't get why. Like, I don't know. Like, I would love the opportunity to play in a full NBA season and kind of see where I feel at the end of it and maybe see, how these guys actually are feeling. But man, I don't know. It sucks. I want to see the best players play every night, and sometimes you don't have those opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. But I only threw that up because if we just say, guys, you have to play, then they'll just come up with, oh, coach, put me down for sore shoulder tonight. It'll just
Yes,
be a
sir.
low management day masked by a phantom injury. Where if you say, all right, so if you're on the injured list, that means you're missing 3 games minimum. Now, if it's just you making up something to miss a game, but you planned on playing the following game, now you can't do that. So I don't know if that's the way you go about it, but I don't even know how that would be
I
received
would
by
like that.
fans.
I wouldn't say do it 3. Probably just do it 2. Just be like, hey, you have to. If you're injured for a game, like, because the big injuries, like they'll be if you tear your ACL, sorry, you're gone for 3 months. Like after your 3 months are up, you can come back when you are ready because you were gone for 3 months. But for these people who are, I got a stinger, sorry, like can't play. Like, well, how about you sit out for the next 2 games and rest it? Feel a little better.
All right, so Eric says the NFL just needs to get rid of the Pro Bowl, give players bonuses. Here's how the NBA can control load management. The NBA needs to tell teams they can only rest 1 player per game. For example, Golden State came to Cleveland and sat out all of their top players that night.
Fair. I like that.
That's fair. Yeah.
I like that. If you have like LeBron, AD, all of them, it's like, sorry, Anthony Davis, you can rest. LeBron has to play, and vice versa. I like that. For Golden State's a perfect example. Like Klay Thompson is taking a rest day. Sorry, Steph Curry. Sorry, Draymond. Sorry, Jordan Poole. Like, get out there. Vice versa.
But like I said before, but if you tried to do that, and let's say Draymond gets the rest day. But if you list like Steph Curry with knee pain, or
the same thing happens.
Klay Thompson, like, can you really like police that and say, no, only Draymond can sit tonight, where other guys could have lingering injuries? But I do think that is kind of on the path to something there. Rest 1 player.
I really do like the idea of them sitting out at like an extra game or so. If that does happen. It's like, again, it does bring up the same thing. Like, these people are paying a lot of money. Like if you buy your tickets in advance and, Curry takes a rest day on Sunday, you bought your tickets for the game on Wednesday a month ago. Yep. And it's like, well, he's out. Well, there's 2 chances that doesn't happen. So it's going to be a hard thing to perfect. I don't think it's going to be one of those things that they're going to be able to like figure out to a T, but it'll be interesting. I hope it gets figured out just for the fans' sake more than anything.
Yeah. I think another competition, to get back to the All-Star Weekend, that I feel like could use a little bit of a tweak is the skills competition.
Yeah.
Look, I love Giannis. Giannis is one of the more entertaining guys in the league. But watching Thanasis and Alex brick shots in the shooting portion of the skills competition, I feel like we got to do something about that. Like, I feel like we should just abolish it. Like the rookies having a team. Maybe you just find another family. And the holidays, there's 3 brothers. Throw them out there a couple of times. Find some guys who are cousins. Throw them together. Throw together a random threesome. I don't know. Just do something. I don't need to see Thanasis and Alex.
Or I'm sorry, get rid of this stupid team crap. Make it actual player v player again. Like, do it where you had you had 2 players each side of the court running back and down. Because like you see people pull half court shots trying to win that challenge. It's a race.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put
why they got away from that format. I didn't think there was any issue with it.
They had a lot of brothers in the league and thought it'd be fun. I don't know. I do not like the skills challenge now. I don't like any sense of any of it. I think it was all boring. Nobody was really trying 100% in all of it. Didn't seem like really a lot of the people who were in the skills challenge were wanting to be there. It seemed like it ended abruptly. I was like, oh, the Jazz team won? That was it? Oh, okay. Well, that's the skills challenge. No, bring it back. Give me give us like the 8-player tournament, you know? Give them like $500,000. Give them a bonus. Make it worth it. I know if you put money on the line, these players are going to compete for it. Like, I'm sorry. If you tell like NBA players like, hey, you want to compete on this in the skills challenge like how it was before for $500,000, I imagine you'll get some pretty talented NBA players probably being like, you know, $500,000 doesn't sound so bad.
But
And it's not even like
they got players who wanted to do it.
exactly.
And then they implemented the big men versus, you know, small, and I thought that was fine too. Seeing DeMarcus Cousins running a skills competition against whatever
guard,
guards
like,
yeah, I thought it was entertaining, and the big men wanted to beat the guards to show them that.
I know,
hey,
and wasn't it like Domantas Sabonis who won one year, and it was like, this man's like 6'10", like, and he's draining threes, beating you guys in a skills competition. Like that is skillful,
right? And I mean, if you got away from it, I'm sure Giannis would do the skills competition. So at least you get Giannis in that aspect, and you know if he's there, the brothers will at least be on the side. And
yeah, if you want to do his brothers, throw all 3 of them in there. I'm sorry, you cannot tell me that they would not mind competing against each other in a skills competition. Like, they're brothers, they played basketball. I'm sorry, like if the Nassus wanted to face Giannis in the second round of the skills comp, I find that'd be pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rather than them all competing on a team and not trying.
Well, I think they were trying. I just think the Nassus and Alex, they just can't shoot.
I feel like they were trying on the past one. Well, it seemed like for example, like Jordan Clarkson, like it seemed like he was walking in his first drill, like he didn't care. Like Colin Sexton really wasn't trying towards the end, and it was like, what are you guys doing? Like, why'd you agree to be on the team? Like, I imagine they could have probably found some other Utah players who wanted to do it.
Yeah, Clarkson came across like, I'm too cool for this, and I didn't understand that at all. But I'm not Jordan Clarkson, you know, maybe he had his reasons, but I do think that's one competition that they could definitely tweak. I would say, I mean, like you said, if they went back to the old format, I'd be fine with it.
Agreed. I like that format. And like, it doesn't even have to be like the same thing. Like, just keep the player versus player aspect of it, and you can change the skills comp, change the obstacle course. You can do so many different things to make it like interesting and like a lot more challenge. Not even a lot more challenging every year, but like, you know, I think it would be cool if you. Well, I think it'd be cool if you had like a challenge where like you had like a little dribble obstacle course and you had to get them through it. Like, not their stupid little wide players that they're literally taking 2 dribbles to step around, and like they go the wrong direction the first time anyway, so it's like you're telling them to go back. It's like there's a lot of things you could do to perfect it. Like, man, like make them pull up from half court one year, and like, I'm sorry, you don't move on until you hit a half court shot. That would be very funny to see, like, you know, a center trying to drain a half court shot. Like, I think fans would love to watch that. And if he hit it, everyone would be going crazy. Like, I'm sorry, if you put like Walker Kessler in the skills challenge and he pulls up from half court and drains the 3, Utah would have been going more wild.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So now, another competition. We had a good 3-point competition. Once again, you had some names in there: Tatum, Damian Lillard. You had some guys that maybe don't pay attention a lot to, like Kevin Huerter. First chance to really perform. I mean, he didn't do well, but first chance for probably a lot of fans to see him. You know, you had Randall, who I still say was probably the odd selection to replace Simons, but
yeah. You know how these NBA players are. They probably saw, like, because you got to remember, Laurie was already in it, Dame was already in it. And it was like, Ja seems like he's too cool for anything that isn't the All-Star game. You know, you had already 2 players in it. I'm pretty sure LeBron wasn't going to do it. Giannis would have been funny to see in it, but he had his wrist injury, so he really wasn't going to do too much in it. Man, you had options. I mean, De'Aaron Fox didn't want to do it. You know, he only played like 9 minutes of the All-Star game. I find it hard he wouldn't have been in the 3-point contest for funsies. Or even like, you know, you could have got like any good
thrown Alvarado and seemed like he.
I mean, you didn't even have to throw anybody like that into, like, for example, like you have other NBA players that I'm pretty sure you could have had hop on a plane and they would have been there like in a couple of days' notice. Like, I know a lot of people were like asking for where's Yuta Watanabe at. He was shooting 48% for 3. Like, invite this man. Why not? Like, what happens? Like you threw Kevin Huerter and Julius Randle in there, like throw some other no names. We saw what Mac McClung did. Like he wasn't a big name stay for a lot of people, and like he went crazy in that dunk contest. Now a lot of people know who he is.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so Dame wins the 3-point contest. I mean, Dame he just got hot. The
Yep.
the ball that's a little bit further back is right in his wheelhouse. So
Yeah, I love the comments like when he was shooting the other racks, they're like, "That's too close, that's too close." And when he was getting to like the starry ball, it was like, "That's his range," and he just hits all of them.
Yeah. So that competition, it's always fine. They always get big names who want to do it.
I feel like the 3-point contest is always like, you know what you're getting out of it every year. Like, you know what to expect. Like, there's not any unpredictability like a dunk contest or a skills challenge where you don't know what's really going to happen. Like the 3-point contest, you know what's happening. Like they're shooting threes. Like they added the deep range balls, which I thought were perfect. I don't hate that at all. I like them giving us a full money rack as well too, which has been a thing for a little bit, but I like all of it. I think the 3-point contest is like one of those contests you could have literally every year and no one's going to complain and everyone's going to watch.
Yep. But then get to the man of the night, Mac McClung.
Yes, sir.
Came into this dunk contest. A lot of people were looking at it as Trey Murphy, Jericho Sims,
Kenyon Martin Jr.
And then this G League guy, Mac McClung. Like, who's going to watch this? Well, Mac McClung, he did his thing. If you remembered him when he was in high school, he was a YouTube sensation for his dunking ability. And all we saw was he hasn't lost the thing because he's still creative. He still has crazy hops. And there's actual dunks that I saw him do on YouTube that he hasn't shown yet, that if he were to do that next year, he'd get a 50 easily. So I'm glad he committed to next season. Now it's going to be who's willing to get into it with him. So for you, what would be your dream foursome to go up against Mac McClung next year?
So if I had to choose 3 other people for him to go against, Zion's been talking about it. He didn't pull a jaw move and was like, I need 1 billion likes before I do it. Like, okay, bud, no one likes you anyways. But Zion was talking about doing it, so I'd like to see if he's a possibility. Then yes, I will throw Zion in there. Like that would be very funny. Having Mac McClung and Zion Williamson go up against each other in the dunk contest final. Like, just imagine that picture of them standing next to each other going into that final round. That'd be hilarious. Yeah. But I put it's up Zion. Just anybody who is willing to try, anyone who's willing to do anything new. I guess I can't really give you specific guys because there's so many great dunkers out there. Because endgame dunks are nothing compared to what you can do in the NBA Dunk All-Star, like the NBA Dunk Contest. And I think a lot of people get that confused. Like they're doing stuff that you can't get a lot of the times in open lane. So like putting the best endgame dunkers might not even be the best thing to do in a sense. Yeah. But overall, just the best performers, people who are wanting to try. Like, for example, Mac McClung was like, I will be back to defend this if you guys have me. Like, people who are willing to like come back and work on the craft, if you take it seriously, because obviously he took it seriously and he was like, I'm willing to do it again. Like, I like it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if Zion wants to get into it, Pelicans fans would probably don't want to hear that because they just want to see him get through a season healthy. And last thing they would need is for him to
don't hurt your hamstring.
Right. Hurt a hamstring and tweak a knee or something. But I would love to see that. I feel like this Morant thing is just him leading up to probably just doing it 1 year, but he just wants to build all this noise for himself.
Yeah, when he's 30, when he's like in his 30s, and the Grizzlies just held 2 bad seasons in a row, and he needs to up his name again.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to get into it now because Mac is coming back. He put on a great show. All right, Ja, if you want to do one next year. I wouldn't mind seeing Aaron Gordon do it again. I thought he was entertaining. Well, I feel like LaVine. Well, LaVine has had an injury history, but yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that either. Got a message here. What's good, people? This is the Handsome Podcast. John Morant is better than Jordan for real. All right. Appreciate that, Kevin. So yeah, I really hope that because McClung put on such a show, now there's a lot of heat behind the contest that big name guys will want to be in it next year. I mean,
to be fair, what they shouldn't do though is don't be afraid to shy away from getting these G League guys back. Like if
Absolutely.
there is a guy in the G League who is like, I will do this dunk contest and he can be good, by all means, let the dude create a name for himself if no one else is willing to step up. Like they tried it with Derek Jones Jr. and it wasn't really as a success, but like Mac McClung was just like one of those ones that they hit like gold on, and like, you know, he is now on the seven. Like he did, this is not the reason he is on the 76ers roster. It's because he also played well in the G League. But, you know, him now playing a two-way contract, being on that 76ers roster, he's going to get a lot of eyes looked at him now, like a lot more than if he was just, you know, signed and played 5-6 minutes. Now it's like the NBA Slam Dunk Contest is playing like 8, 9, 10 minutes with the 76ers tonight. So it makes it a little more interesting. Like it definitely puts some name value on him because like Mac McClung, like we said, huge high school YouTube sensation, but really didn't work super well in college, didn't work super well in the NBA. And it's like his name value's kind of been lowered. And it's like he won the dunk contest. So his name value is probably the highest it's ever been, probably since high school. So it's like he's been able to create a name for himself, another opportunity in the NBA. Like I imagine he's getting tons of sponsors. He's getting tons of just opportunities because he won that dunk contest. Like, definitely, that probably was definitely like, I wouldn't say like life changing, but it definitely did a lot for him, I imagine.
Yeah, I agree. If there's a G League guy who wants to get in there, I feel like because of Mac McClung, I feel like the NBA would be more open to it.
If people like, even if you want, make if you have a guy, of course, make like a G League person, like I wouldn't say a requirement, but like, you know, make them have one of them 3 spots.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against that. If it's as long as somebody who wants to be in it, I'm all
exactly.
For it.
Yeah, I'm like as long as you know, like you're good enough to be in it and you want to be in it, like just don't throw a random G League dude in there who's like, I can dunk a little bit.
Right.
Like that's just gonna get him cut from the G League.
Absolutely. But now, All-Star game's over with. Gotta wait a whole another year until they're in this Indianapolis next year. And got a question. Where's Jordan? Dude cracks me up. Also, when he says things that are slightly off, it just works. I find him entertaining. Well, Jordan is taking care of something this week. He will be back next week. It's just Dylan and myself this week, but appreciate you tuning in, Kevin. So yeah, now with the All-Star game over with, the buyout market has begun. You know, we've seen Kevin Love. He's going to the Heat. Patrick Beverley going home to the Bulls. I mean, that one, I guess. And then Westbrook looks like he's going to join the Clippers. So I'm not going to throw Beverley in there, but between Westbrook and Love, who do you think probably brings more to their new situation?
I'm just going to have to say Love. Nothing against Westbrook. It seems like, you know, the Clippers, you know, traded for Highland. Still got Terrence Mann on the roster, and it's like I wouldn't say there's a log jam at guards, but where does Westbrook fit? Because it seems like they say he fits as a starter, and it's like, well, does he? And it's like, what is your plan with this roster? Because it's like Paul George and Kawhi, as great of scorers as they are, aren't really known for being the lead scorer. Maybe Paul George more in a sense than Kawhi, but like these guys aren't really known for dropping 40 a night and being your main scorer, you know. Neither is Westbrook anymore. It seems like it's going to be very interesting. I do like the chemistry aspect between Russell Westbrook and Paul George. Even when Paul George was in OKC, it didn't really seem like they ever had an issue. It's just, you know, Paul George knew his time was probably up there and he had an opportunity to play with Kawhi, so he jumped on it. It'll be interesting. I'm going to say Love because it seems like, you know, this team was in talks for Love with a while, that they kind of knew what they wanted. They need forward depth very much as well too. Love kind of fits in with that system. He's going to be able to stretch out the floor, something that Miami does lack when it comes to that four position. That just their bigs in general. Plus, he's going to be a leader with championship mentality. Kevin Love's got a couple of rings to him, so overall, it's going to be. I think it's just overall like he doesn't bring any locker room drama. Westbrook was known as being someone who had some locker room drama before he left LA. And now going back to a different LA team. Kevin Love was kind of that guy who was just like, I play for, this young up and coming team. I'm just waiting to get bought out. And now he was bought out. And I don't imagine like he has a massive dip in skills because he left the Cavaliers. I think he'll be just fine. I think Kevin Love was probably the smartest pickup I wouldn't say the best pickup out of this buyout market, but it's probably one of the better pickups out of the buyout market, especially with his leadership, especially since he's been in these championship experiences, and the East too. So he gets what you're going up against. He knows a lot of the people you're going up against in the playoffs because he's played them before himself too. So I think it's a lot more interesting. I think Westbrook probably has the potential to be better. Russell Westbrook's that dude who could get you 20, 20, and 20 just randomly because that's what Russell Westbrook does some nights. He definitely has the potential just because of how well he can get triple doubles, how well he can get his stats. But overall, he's a big of a question mark because of his time with the Lakers, because of you don't really know how he's going to fit with this Clippers offense. Plus, you don't really know what's kind of happening with the Clippers. Of course, they're playing well, but it's not everyone's playing all the time and different things like that. So I think Kevin Love's smarter for now, but Westbrook definitely would have the more potential to be better.
Right. Let me answer this question here. So Shardal Gupta, hopefully I said that correctly. Thoughts on the 2023 NBA All-Star Game? We literally just finished that, but just to recap, we feel like the skills competition needs to go back to the old format. Kind of done with seeing Team Antetokounmpo and all that. The All-Star Game, we'd like to see more effort, and if it's not going to happen, then go to a 3-on-3, 2v2, whatever tournament instead of the game. 3-point contest, we know what we're going to get. Love that. And the dunk contest, because of Mac McClung's success, leave a spot open for a G League guy if they want to be in it. But since Mac McClung's coming back next year, need a field of guys that want to do it and want that challenge to go up against Mac McClung. That's basically everything wrapped up for you. Who are your favorite teams from the USFL?
Oh man.
Yeah,
I don't even know who's anyone on the roster. I don't know how anything in the USFL is going, to be completely honest with you.
Right. I was kind of wondering when I first saw it if they meant the XFL.
Didn't they just have their draft today though? I'm pretty sure they had their draft today, if I'm not wrong. I'm pretty sure they had their college draft.
If that's the case, then I would say Shardal, tune in next week. That way we can actually dive into the USFL draft, and then I'd probably have an answer for this question. So I'll say that.
Seattle has a team. How many teams are there? Is there only 8 as well? Birmingham, New Jersey, Philadelphia, New Orleans, Memphis, Houston, Pittsburgh, Michigan. Oh man. Normally I would just go Seattle, but yeah, I would say come back next week. Let me do some research on the rosters. Let me see if there's what players I know the most of, and I'll just go with that one.
Right. Yeah. So like I said, Shardal, tune in next week. We'll definitely have an answer for that question. So with the buyout stuff, now I think Westbrook to the Clippers, I feel like that might be a good situation. I guess he's basically supposed to fill the John Wall role since they moved John Wall out to Houston, and get back to him in a couple seconds. But I do like Kevin Love in Miami. I do wish Miami found an upgrade for Kyle Lowry. I've been saying that for weeks, but
John Wall?
Man, could happen. But if you're gonna roll out a lineup at times with like Adebayo in the middle, Love at the 4, Butler at the 3, Hero at the 2, and then I guess Lowry
at the 1.
At the 1, that's not a bad lineup for the East. I mean, you can even put Love as a small ball 5 to give Adebayo a quick breather, and kind of it gives
7.
I mean, it just gives them another guy on that team that, can knock down a three. He could still rebound. He still has the great outlet passes. Miami's not much of a running team, but those few opportunities, he definitely could fit in there. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about Beverly. He's not going to
Not
do
going
much
to
in
the
Chicago.
Warriors to go to the Chicago.
Although Chicago is going to need him now with Lonzo being shut down.
I
And
guess that's true, but it's like, congrats, Pat Bev. You're gonna try to win the chip in the play-in again. You gonna be a 10th seed and win your first matchup and think you NBA championship ready again. Like, I mean, shout out to him. I mean, he wanted to play in his hometown, so
right,
fair enough.
right,
Can't hate him.
I can respect that. I can respect that. All right, Sean has
Just if you
another
want to,
question. Thoughts on Tatum?
yeah, I wanted to know how you feel. You're the Celtics fan here, so
I mean, I already know about Tatum when it comes to anything that deals with Kobe Bryant. It's the Kobe Bryant All Star MVP. Tatum is down.
he said I need to get me one of them.
I mean, he just released a new shoe. What better way to advertise it than drop 55 in an All Star game? Now,
Right.
of course, you'd like to see if he would have done it with a little bit more effort defensively against them, but I mean, I thought it was fun. He and Deuce, they had a lot of fun over All Star break. I had no problem with it. I did like the fact that Jaylen Brown, who hasn't played the past few games, played in the All Star game because he has to wear that mask, and he was trying to see like how comfortable he would be with it. And I felt like using that for the All Star game, perfect opportunity because he dropped like 35 and he looked comfortable with it on. So I'm more optimistic coming out of the break how he'll look, with the mask on. Eric, do you guys think the XFL last? And yes, the USFL draft was today. All right, appreciate that, Eric. Yeah, so like we said, we'll talk about the USFL, I guess, next week, so that way we get a chance to see the draft and everything, and then we can answer Shardall's question at the same time next week as to who our favorite teams would be. Because I'm interested to see, who got drafted to what teams.
Yeah, do you think
But
the XFL will last? Yeah. I mean, as of now, I want to stay optimistic. I don't want to say no because this XFL has a little bit of different vibe than even when they tried to bring it back under the Vince McMahon leadership. Like even then, I didn't really feel like it was gonna work. But
yeah,
overall,
seemed gimmicky, whereas this one seems
yeah,
like
it seems like something's gonna go wrong here. But like this XFL seems like it has a little bit of promise. I mean, the first week I wouldn't say was a bad week. I would say it would be overall a pretty successful week. It was talked about. They had I would say good media coverage. On it. I think the big moments were talked about and different things like that. So as of now, if it can keep up this pace and they can find different ways to get more people to view it, especially with it not being NFL season, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it has the opportunity to last, but I have to see more weeks for sure. So Eric, I mean, since you threw the question out there, let us know. Do you think it will last? If not, well, I mean, that's all I had for NBA, unless there's some story I'm missing. And if not, I guess we go to the basketball reference. But
the Nets coach got extended, Jacques Vaughn?
Yes, that's right. That's right. He did. Yeah, he got. I mean, I'm happy for him.
Good. Yeah.
It would have been very easy for the Nets to be like, oh, we don't have KD, we don't have Kyrie, run out the season, fire him to bring in a new guy to go with this new group. But I think he deserves the opportunity with this new version of the team.
Agreed. I think with all that KD and Kyrie situation, he was kind of like, I don't care, just let me coach. And this team is still doing good. I imagine the Nets will probably, at minimum, make the play-in. If they don't make the playoffs itself. So yeah.
All right. So Shardall says my favorite USFL team is the Pittsburgh Maulers because I'm a big fan of Bailey Gaither, who played for San Jose State. All right, that's cool. Like I said, we'll definitely talk about it next week because I kind of want to pick a favorite team as well.
Yeah, I was reading some of the draft results, and there were some different, at least because it was their college draft. There's definitely some interesting names on there. Definitely a lot of names I know for sure.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely happy to talk about that one next week. But now we've gone through everything, It's gonna be our first chance to try out this basketball reference. You know, usually it'd be to test, Jordan, Dylan, and Jake. We just have Dylan, so we're gonna see how well he does. You guys in the chat, if you have a guess as well, throw it out there, and we'll see who can figure it out. So I'll pull up the reference right here. Oh, Charlotte chimes in again. I hope the Pittsburgh Maulers get the first pick in the USFL draft.
Do you know, if you don't mind commenting, do you know what date that is? Because, I do see that their college draft finished like 10, like they're still going maybe right now.
So they're gonna do another draft outside of this.
Yeah, this one's gonna. So this one is like all the players like who basically probably weren't declaring for the draft or gonna make the draft. They have a little college draft for them. And then they're gonna have one of like former pros and different things like that as well too.
Okay.
Because this first draft, the college draft is only 10 rounds, so you only get
Oh, I gotcha. Well, I guess Shardall or Eric, since you guys have been kind of tapped with the USFL, let us know when the USFL draft is, and we'll definitely make sure to talk about it that week as well. But yeah, so here we go. Basketball reference. So basically, what this is I guess like a blind resume of a certain player in the league. Dylan, see if you can figure out who the player is. So they got started 2009, 2010. They missed their first year. They had a run with the Clippers.
Oh, I already got it.
Okay.
I saw that All-Star. And I know this man. He only an All-Star with the Pistons, and I remember the season very well. It's that boy Blake Griffin.
It is Blake Griffin, yes.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it, it did confuse me. I saw that Clippers, and I was like, man, Brooklyn and Boston, that's kind of throwing me off. And I was like, let me scroll up. And then I saw that 2018-19 season All-Star. And I was like, man, who was an All-Star on the Pistons at that time? Wasn't Drummond. If he wasn't an All-Star then, so I had to be one person. It was Blake Griffin.
Okay. All right. So that one I felt like was the easy one.
So the amount of trap houses he could have bought with that contract.
All right, so let me see if I can pull up the other one. Trying to see how do I switch them. All right. Hopefully this is right. Oh, it went away. Well, I gotta pull up again. This thing is weird. Hold on. I think I have to do it. Well, while I'm trying to get the other one to come up, Shala has another good question.
Top 5 players, players of all time. Your top 5 NBA players. Oh, that's tough. I think you can't have a list without your LeBron, Jordan. Like those will always kind of be the arguments. Gotta think. I'm a big Shaq fan, so.
Okay.
My foster dad really got me pretty big on Shaq, so I definitely am a big Shaq guy. It's tough. I do think championships matter in a sense, and I would like putting Bill Russell up there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What about you, Kyle? Who's your top 5? I'm trying to think it over.
So for me, I go Jordan. I go LeBron. I go maybe Chamberlain 3.
Okay.
I'm also one who kind of likes to show respect to Bill Russell, so I'd probably go Bill Russell. Then at 5, I'd probably go Kobe at 5, just to quickly get a 5 out there.
Yeah, I probably have LeBron. LeBron, Michael. My third that's probably where I just dropped Bill Russell in, because I'm a big championship guy type of guy. Probably have my 4th maybe a Shaq. Fifth could be anywhere between, like, if you wanted to put Kobe, you wanted to put Larry Bird, you wanted to put Magic, like that fifth, fourth spot, like you can just run a mill of different players, and because they have different accomplishments.
Yeah.
Yep. Kobe,
Also,
Kareem, Jordan, Shaq, LeBron. Not a bad list at all.
yeah.
You can
I've
put,
always
you
said
really
like
have to like
there's quite a few players you could have in your top five that at least would make sense. Charlo's five.
once you get past like LeBron and like Jordan, or LeBron and Jordan, it's kind of like you could really pick like a bunch of people here, and it's very respectable choice.
Right. All right. Try and get this screen share to work. I don't know why it stopped working all of a sudden.
I was like, it was too good. I got Blake Griffin too easily. It was like, I mean, you might have to be prepared for this.
It was like because I did the share screen, the windows were there, then now they just disappeared randomly, and they won't come back. All right. If I can't figure out in the next couple minutes, I guess we'll end on that one, and then I'll have others for next week. I mean, Shardol, if you have more questions, keep firing them off. Got a few minutes here. All right, here we go. Well, what were your thoughts when LeBron James broke Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record?
It would have been nicer if they won the game.
I mean, yeah, that definitely would have helped. Also, if the Lakers are having a better season, but for me, it speaks to LeBron's longevity. We know all about his workout regimen, how much money he puts into his body, all that. That's basically the fruits of that labor there. Now, I was not one of those who thought just because he broke the scoring record that all of a sudden he was the GOAT, because, like I said, that's more of a longevity thing. And if you look at it, since Jordan is the GOAT to me, like Jordan averaged 30 a game, LeBron averages like 27 a game. So Jordan was still the better scorer on average. And, Jordan's career was 13 seasons, 13, 14 years, whereas LeBron's going 20, could be 21, 22, who knows. So it speaks to his longevity and the way that the modern athlete definitely takes care of their body way better than athletes before them. But I thought it was a cool moment. He hit the little fadeaway, and I mean everybody seemed happy except for Anthony Davis. But yeah, I thought it was a cool moment with Kareem actually being at the game, made it even cooler. So yeah,
I liked all the memes. I liked all the memes with Kareem drinking his little drink, and it was just like I didn't lose to the Thunder when I broke the record.
Right.
I have to agree with you. I think it really speaks to LeBron's overall longevity, and it just like how much he does put into this game. I think like regardless of who your GOAT is, and regardless of you can talk about LeBron's championship records. So regardless, maybe if Michael played an extra 6 years, he could have had a couple of losses on there. You never know, and that's just LeBron's path. He chose to play longer. He could have retired sooner, and it be what it be, but he chose not to, and I don't have any sort of hate towards it. I'm a big type of guy, though. I like playing equal is fair. I wasn't a big fan of like the huge ceremony that they had after he broke it, and that was just me personally. A lot of people liked it, and I get why you like it. I'm not hating it by any means. It is what it is. It happened, but like I didn't think it was fair for the Thunder, and the Thunder won the game, which I find even more funnier. Overall, I mean, like it's a big moment. I mean, it's not every day where one of these long-standing records just get passed. It's not every day where something like that happens. And regardless of the record, if it was the assist record and someone else broke it, it's still a milestone regardless. And I think it just again speaks to his longevity. It speaks to like you said, he puts all this time and effort into like make sure his body and stuff is right, but also like just imagine his like mental, like being able to be wanting to play this game that long. He obviously has a love for it, like that's pretty undying. And a lot of people, I won't say it's like this for a lot of NBA players, but there is a group of NBA players, or a good sum of NBA players that just lose their love for the game, and after 10, 11 seasons they don't really want to play it anymore. And just LeBron's going in there in and out, like regardless of how you feel about him, regardless of what you feel like what he says, he still comes in there and plays basketball. You can say what you can say about his load management, whatever. You can say him taking some injury days off here and there, whatever. But overall, I mean, he's 17 years. 17 years, is it 17th season in the NBA? Or how far is he in?
He's 20.
No, it's 20. Man, see, longer than I've even expected. Yeah, I guess that's right, 2002. But yeah,
Hmm.
like just overall, it just talks about his longevity. I mean, not a lot of people play 20 years in the NBA at the top level that LeBron does, and that speaks volumes. And regardless of who your GOAT is, regardless of anything, like at the end of the day, you can't be like LeBron isn't one of the best players ever to touch a basketball. Like he's
Right.
definitely going to be in that echelon, and he has the records to prove it, regardless of what you think of his time in the finals and his record in the finals. There's so many
Right.
great legends that haven't even won a finals.
Exactly. And I did get the screenshot to work, so we can't do the next two. But Shardall says, when Steph Curry broke Ray Allen's record, it was one of the greatest moments I will ever remember as a Warriors fan.
Mm.
That's true. And that same way when Ray Allen broke Reggie Miller's record, it was a really great moment. It's crazy how, you know, those three have been so intertwined because of the 3-point shot. But yeah, that the Steph Curry one was a great moment, and happening in Madison Square Garden as well made it a bigger deal as well.
Oh yeah, I think it was also important because like when you look at the modern NBA, if you think of the person who kind of like centralized the 3-point shot in today's NBA, who's the first person you think of? Steph Curry. And then so it's like for
Yeah,
him breaking a
absolutely.
record that like just big, it was just like, seemed it all came to first full circle. It's like you're the one that kind of made the 3-point shot hot, like what you were doing, just running, pulling up from three. It was like we've seen some things like that before, but no one was doing it as consistent as he was. And it was like, when Curry started going crazy and getting his MVP seasons and stuff like that, that's kind of really where we saw the 3-pointer just like start booming, and like everyone wanted to do
Mhm.
that. Those Warriors teams with Klay Thompson, and it was like seemed to break that record, seemed really big, and it definitely will go down as one of like I wouldn't say one of the bigger records broken, of course, because that the scoring record will always be big. Every record will be big when it was broken, but like those are one of those records that you're like, man, that's like it puts a smile on your face. Like you made this popular, and you're like, well, let's beat the record too. And how fast he did it was amazing as well.
Mhm. Eric brings up a good point. The new XFL has the best business plan in comparison to other spring leagues. I've done a lot of research for prep for my podcast, and that's definitely going to be a major part of them succeeding or not. The fact that their business plan, as you said, is the best compared to other leagues. That's definitely a step ahead of those other leagues as well. So I'm here for it. I hope it is a success, but we'll see. Because each week we'll have to see how the ratings do and all that, because that's going to play a major part as well. Shardall with another question. All right, so Shardall, I feel like you would appreciate cheap seats on Monday as well, because questions like this would be perfect for that show. Um, I'll save this one for after the basketball reference one. We'll probably end the show on that one. And Charlotte, like I said, if you want to keep throwing some out there, we'll definitely work them into next week, or cheap seats, whatever. So the next player for you, Dylan. Here we go. Started thirteen
Okay.
fourteen with the Pistons, then went to the Lakers in 17-18, to the Wizards 21-22, and then the Nuggets 22-23.
So it's not a big scorer. Washington to Denver is a little interesting. Started in LA. I'll start in Detroit. 2013 Detroit. That's a little interesting.
So, Chad, if any of
Man,
you know who this player is, go ahead and
is
throw out a guess.
29 right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. Who did the Pistons take? It's a shooting guard.
So Charlotte says, "I
One
really love
shooting guard.
how interactive this show is. I appreciate it. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we try to be as interactive as possible.
Absolutely.
It's definitely nice when we get the comments because we try to get it as fast as we can.
Yep.
2013. Oh man, Pistons.
I could give
Man,
you.
When
I
I
could
think
give you a quick
Washington,
clue.
man, no, I think I can get this.
Okay.
There's a couple of guys that come to mind. Um, Man, that Washington Denver. I'm just trying to think. That seems like where shooting guards go a lot. Is like they go from Washington to Denver or vice versa. But I think I know who it is. And it might sound stupid, but is it Kentavious Caldwell Pope?
It absolutely is Contavious.
Okay, I saw Piston shooting guard and I was like, I feel like that's where he was drafted. And then I remembered that he just recently went to the Nuggets. And I was like, how long ago did he play for the Wizards? Was that last year? I'm just gonna have to go with it.
Okay, so you're 2 for 2. I have one more for you.
Oh man, this is gonna be the rough one, isn't it?
I
Man,
mean,
his
you got
point-
through those two. You might be good.
His points were throwing me off. I was like, man, who's averaging 11 points a game that I'm gonna know? It's really the teams that help me.
Right. Let's see. All right, so there's the next one. All right, so this one, I'm confident in you in this one as well.
Okay, I'm ready. Oh, it's loading.
Okay,
There we go.
so here we go. Started in 08-09 with the New Jersey Nets. They went to Brooklyn. Well, I guess they stayed with Brooklyn with the name change. Went to the Lakers for a year, and are now on the Bucks.
Oh, okay. I actually know this one. This one's actually really easy. It's Brook Lopez.
And it absolutely is Brook Lopez. So there you
Man,
go.
it really what it got me was like that LA season. It was like I really forgot about that LA season. Like I was thinking I saw the New Jersey and I saw Milwaukee, so Brook Lopez automatically came to mind, and I was like, did he play for the Lakers? And I forgot he literally had one season where he did play for the Lakers and wasn't actually bad. Like he was actually okay, but overall, like Brook Lopez. The New Jersey really helped me. The New Jersey really helped me, and then I saw that All-Star season as well, and I was like, he was really good for he was good for the Nets. Like he was actually really good for the Nets. So
okay, so you went 3 for 3. I'll definitely have 3 other guys for next week, and like I said, with Jake and Jordan on, we'll see how you guys do. I might have to make it a little bit tougher now because the Caldwell Pope one did
that one was rough. That one was rough.
Okay. Let me start off throw out some other. Oh, so Eric said, XFL News Brahmas fire Mike Sheehan. I mean, after one game, they fired a GM. All right.
Things move quick.
They're not waiting around. Hey, I can respect that. Shardall throughout. Who are your top 5 quarterbacks? All right, we'll probably save that next week as well. But because we're getting close to 2 hours now, so we'll wrap it up after the basketball reference game. And appreciate you guys in the chat, especially Shardall and Eric. Hopefully you guys hit subscribe on the channel because like I said, there's a lot of great shows over here. And also make sure you tune into us next Tuesday where we will be hopefully full crew, Dylan, myself, Jordan, and Jake. We can probably get back into mock drafting because we haven't done it in a few weeks, so we'll definitely do that.
We're getting close to combine. We're getting close to combine and everything like that.
So we'll definitely do another one of those next week, and we'll have some spring training to talk about. If anything big happens, we'll definitely talk about that on here. But XFL and USFL, I will definitely be paying attention.
Same here.
So we can talk about that as well.
I'm definitely going to finish up reading up that college draft for sure.
Yes, absolutely. So before we get out of here, you got any final thoughts, Dylan?
Overall, no. I mean, just kind of really no big news going on. UFC's kind of just doing, their simple fight nights, but we're getting to the month of March where John Jones is going to return. So that's going to be fun. But overall, on the UFC news, it's been pretty quiet. I'm just excited for March Madness. March and April seems like it's going to be really picking up again for me in sports stuff. Like just as like a UFC fan, as a boxing fan, as like a college basketball fan. And even like I'm starting to really get into these new spring league footballs, so it's all going to start being good. You got that little month span after the NFL's over where it kind of seems like a little boring. You don't know what's going on, and then things start to pick up again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's It's always good with sports. There used to be kind of a downtime, but now we have the XFL kind of filling that need until baseball kicks off. So I'm definitely loving it. I still have Premier League that I do watch, which still is always exciting. But there's always something on that usually tickles your fancy. So, but yeah, like I said, really appreciate Eric and Charlotte for real. First time you guys were in the chat, at least that I can remember on this show. You guys are great. Hopefully, we'll be back next Tuesday, 7 o'clock, and throw more questions out there, more information. We definitely welcome it because, like we said, we want to be interactive with you guys. So we love that. Also,
makes our job easier.
Yes, absolutely. Also, Kevin, who was in the chat earlier, Coach Dante, Gene, Freddie, Anthony, Brett.
Right.
Appreciate all of you. So until next week, like I said, it'll be all four of us, hopefully. And like I said, we'll hopefully get you guys join us. But this is another Big Three podcast episode of the book. So until next Tuesday, 7 p.m., we are out. And hopefully you all have a great day. Just enjoy sports going on.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yep. Good night.